everyone, welcome to the Brew Your Market podcast. I'm your host Rakshit, and today we have a special guest over here. He's Udit Goenka, the CEO and founder of Pitchground, and we're going to talk about everything related to SaaS and marketing and getting to know more about Udit, right? So Udit, welcome to the podcast. I'm really happy that you're here today, that you can make time.
Thank you so much, Rakshit. Pleasure is all mine. Honor is all mine. I'm really looking forward to it.
Amazing, man, amazing. So we've known each other for a very short time, but then I think when I was reading up about you, I was really taken aback. I was like, damn, I read about your story and what you've been through. And like you started this thing was that working from the age of 16, like as a designer, if I'm not
Right.
wrong, right? So can you just tell the audience over here, like, what's your story been like and how did you get into the SaaS space and also everything about yourself?
Sure. It all started because of my sort of addiction to gaming.
Uh-huh.
I'll take a step back from that 16 years because that's something that I've not spoken very openly about, right?
Okay.
After I completed my 10th standard,
Uh-huh.
I got into the entire world of online world of gaming. There used to be a very popular online RPG game known as Ragnarok.
Okay.
People used to be crazy for Ragnarok back in those days. So just like you see, people nowadays are crazy for PUBG.
Uh,
People from my era, my age used to be crazy about Ragnarok during those time.
yeah.
And when I started diving into it, without realizing, I learned some of the very critical aspects of my life. Uh, the very first thing was team building,
Hmm.
because that game was all about building a team, right, and
Okay.
trying to win.
Mm.
And I started building a winning mentality from there. Second was the gaming kind of intrigued me, that how are these designs made, and that is what made me curious, and I started searching on Google how are designs made
Uh-huh.
on these games. And that's when I landed on few of the videos from YouTube,
Mm.
where I figured out there is something known as Photoshop, and I started learning Photoshop from there. And I would spend a lot of time just learning these things, and then again gaming.
Mm.
And that's when during my 12th, always wanted to become a software engineer, but my entire dream kind of like got shattered because I was spending all my time trying to train myself, right? Trying to improve my skills on designing, and at the same time improve my skills on and development later on. But that really affected my studies because I opened my book a week prior to my 12th board exams, which is like the
I can imagine. Yeah.
critical point of your entire life, that
Oh, okay.
in India, that decides whether what you're gonna be, right?
Yeah, and 1 week before your board exams, you open the book.
Yeah.
What? Are you
And
serious?
and somehow I secured 50%. I passed,
Bro,
right?
yeah, I mean, commendable.
But more importantly, like I started getting tags in my family that he's
Mm.
not gonna do shit in his life. He's not gonna do anything in his life, right? He's
Yeah,
gonna fail.
yeah.
Um, I still remember, like, one of my cousin told my mom, and she was literally crying when she heard this, that um ये कुछ नहीं करेगा जिंदगी में. He's not going to do anything in his life. And
Mm.
I was literally what, like a 16, 17-year-old teenager, right? And that's when I decided I need to prove them wrong,
Yeah.
right? Instead of proving myself right, my psychology was that I'm going to prove them wrong.
Hmm.
Because when you're young, you just want to make sure that this doesn't happen.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he got me motivated, and I just started putting up all of my work on Orkut back in those days. Because back in those days, Orkut used to be like the
Yeah,
Facebook and the
yeah.
LinkedIn and the Twitters, right? I would put up a lot of my work, and eventually someone noticed my work.
Uh-huh.
It was in so Orkut had, back in those days, Google Images did not have a lot of websites to indexed images, and some of my work got indexed on
Hmm.
Google, and that's when I acquired one of my very first client from Israel.
Wow.
And he gave me a logo designing project because he liked my work, and secondly, he knew that he could get the work done for a lot cheaper than than someone in United States or you.
Yeah, kid, and that too from India.
Yeah.
So it's like ultra cheap.
And more importantly, right, he asked me about a bit about me. So I told him like this is my very first commercial project as well. So he was sort of like, okay, I'm gonna probably like make him work. But I think that was one of the best things that has happened to me during that time, because that work really gave me the confidence, and I made my first $30 as
Wow.
a professional designer, right? As a professional, I could finally call myself as a professional at the age of like 17.
Yeah.
And what just kicked my journey in, and that was one of the most difficult client of my life, by the way, because he made me create 100 different variations every single sort of day of my life. It was a nightmare, but he taught me that you have to deliver to your client. If you have made a promise, regardless of the amount, you have to keep serving to your client till the time they're happy. And those roots are still in me. Those are the kind of things that I learned during my journey.
Hmm.
But I never stopped. I kept on learning things, and my curiosity is what led me to start chasing and understanding more things. So I always tell people that chase your curiosity. Don't
Totally.
just chase your passion, because you wouldn't know your passion unless and until you understand this. You're curious about it. Tomorrow
Yeah.
something new will come out. Be ready to explore new things, because who knows, you would start developing a passion for that. So it's very important,
Yeah.
that curiosity, and that's when I started looking into how to develop softwares. So
Yeah.
I asked my friends who made it to engineering, and I would ask them like which all books I need to study. Because again, what I had always believed in, that you don't need a degree to learn something. All
That.
you need is knowledge, and that can be acquired from anywhere. So
Yeah.
when you told me the book, I did not had like much of the money at that stage, except for like the few dollars that I made. And those money I literally just put in back into my college education as well. So I went and looked for local bookstores that would sell secondhand books, so that I could save a lot of money on that, and I would get like 90%, 80% discount, because the books would be like a little toned off, and the booksellers are just looking to get rid of it because they got the
Yeah.
books free.
Yeah.
Because those students are like, I'm no longer interested in this kind of book, right? So that's exactly what sort of happened with me. And I got the book and I kept learning. And then I would go back to YouTube. I would keep watching those videos. But at the same time, I was also pursuing my studies at that stage. So I got
Yeah.
into commerce,
Hmm.
and commerce felt very easy for me, because being a Marwadi,
Yeah.
the accounting and finance came very natural to me. So, and first of all, like coming from a science background to commerce background, and then on top of that, being Marwadi, you start
Yeah.
like you're the top of the world. So, and that gave me a lot of time to really study what I really wanted to do, because
Uh,
again, my pattern sort of continued, right? I would skip
yeah.
on colleges, and I would skip, and I would just continue learning what I wanted to
Mhm.
do. I would keep building the projects. And I think when I was 18, that's when sort of like my first major breakthrough happened, when I found out an opportunity with WordPress. WordPress was just sort of like trending up. It
Yeah.
was, I think, back in 2008 or 9. I think it was 2008 if I remember. That into WordPress had came out in 2006.
Okay.
So everyone's website was getting hacked because there was nothing out there. So
Uh-huh.
I ended up building up a plugin around it, and that generated around like $350,000 in just 1 month of time. And
Ooh.
I was like,
Okay.
I don't know what to do with this,
Yeah.
because we're talking about like what, like 13 years ago now. So
Yeah.
13 years ago, that $350,000 is probably valued at like probably $2-3 million today's time,
Yeah.
right? So I ended up I didn't know what to do with that money, so I ended up sort of investing and buying my very first house at that
Mhm.
stage. So I put up like about 80% of the money over there, and 20% of the money went into like FD, because the interest rates were pretty sexy back in those days. So and again, it was considered a little safe as well. I think the interest is
Yeah.
probably around like 11-12%, I back
Yeah.
during that time, around
Wow.
11%, if I remember correctly.
Bro,
But it started
crazy.
dropping off very, very, very fast after that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm talking about 13 years ago. So all of those things happened, and that's when I discovered my first co-founder,
Mhm.
Oscar. And it took me almost a year to sort of build a good relationship with him. Meanwhile, I had completed my graduation in accounting and finance as well,
Yeah.
and that went pretty well. I think I got about like 80%. Again, I studied about like a week prior to the exams.
Yeah.
Time I made it, I did decent.
Yeah.
Again, but accounting and finance was something that came in very naturally to me. So I
Yeah.
wrapped it up. Everything went fantastic. And then I started working on my very first startup with my co-founder Oscar.
Uh-huh.
It took us almost a year to build some trust because again it was online, right? We met online. So back in those days, you wouldn't have like your Facebook account or LinkedIn account, right? Where you can
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it
I
must be so hard. Like, I mean,
it
I
was
can't even imagine how you even met this person and built a relationship. Was it
yeah.
email?
No, no, no. We met on a forum,
Okay.
for the internet forum. We
Okay.
met over there, and it was just we would have a Gmail chat because even
Okay.
the chat applications were very limited. You would only have like this Google Hangout, which was known as
Yeah.
chat, and
Yeah.
then Skype. Those were the only two options back in those days.
Yeah.
So I would have some conversations with him at that point of stage, and then it would took almost a year of building that trust. And once that trust was built up, we decided that we're going to finally set up the very first company. We ended up doing extremely well. We generated over $1 million in
Wow.
the very first year of the business. We kept on growing, and but meanwhile, my parents kind of like pushed me, ki, Udit, you should focus on degree as well. It's very important, and they pushed me to pursue a master's in computer application.
Mhm.
So meanwhile, I was already coding. I was already building applications and stuff, and I ended up landing in one of the top universities, IT universities in Mumbai.
Hmm.
Uh, but the very first moment when I entered, and when the practical lecture came in, we were being told that you have to write pieces of code on a piece of paper and
Uh-huh.
submit an assignment. That blew my mind away because when you're building applications and you're coding things, you're being asked to write and submit assignments on a piece of paper. I'm
Yeah.
like, if I just miss a colon, if I
Yeah.
write wrong code, even the professors would not be able to figure out. And that's when I was like, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah.
And
Makes no sense.
I wanted to drop out right away. And my co-founder had told me that just fly down to US.
Mhm.
We would start building things further over here. But I
Mhm.
was a little stubborn. I was like, no, no, let me be over here. Because my parents kept on telling me, let's at least complete 1 year. And by
Mhm.
the way, this was the worst year of my entire life so far. I
Uh-huh.
wasted that 1 year and I went back 1 year.
Yeah.
So, but moving forward, I dropped out after my first year of masters,
Mhm.
and then flew down to US. Was in US for a good number of years. That's when I grew my very first startup. Went freaking crazy
Yeah.
to a point where this is where uh, my curiosity, right? I discovered SaaS
Yeah.
because at Power Up Hosting, which was my very first startup, we were
Mhm.
building cloud servers for SaaS and VPN companies. So
Okay.
when I would start building up these cloud servers for these SaaS companies, I started seeing the world is moving towards SaaS. So usually whatever happens in India, it has already happened in US about 10, 15, 20 years ago at least.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
in those days, I'm talking about this 2012 or 2013, probably 2012, I think. So
Mhm.
2012, we were already building cloud servers for these SaaS companies, and since SaaS was just sort of trending up in US as well, uh, I had the opportunity to directly connect with founders and
Yeah.
not someone else. So
Yeah.
that gave huge opportunity to just bombard them with a lot of questions because again, you're building cloud servers, so you can also ask for extra time. Look, we're building servers, so we need more information, right?
Yeah. Of course.
And that's when my curiosity sort of kept on rising up with the whole SaaS industry and how it's intriguing that first you are completely killing off where people can like distribute free licenses. It has killed piracy. This is how like SaaS was really born to kill
Yeah.
piracy and give users and companies an opportunity to make money on subscription.
Yeah.
Because earlier even Photoshop was being distributed at a one-time fee. And
Hmm.
companies cannot grow if they don't know what would be the income they would be getting next month. Without
Exactly. Yeah.
predictable income, it's sort of very difficult to really grow. So why not turn that product, make it a very affordable price, and productize your entire service into a product, which
Yeah.
is how the name SaaS came into picture. I absolutely fell in love with that model,
Uh-huh.
especially because I was a software developer back then, right?
Yeah.
And then transition into marketing and salesperson when I was focusing on power posting. And then I told my co-founder Oscar that I think our next startup is going to be SaaS. Yeah. Right? This is very interesting. Uh, and that's exactly what we ended up doing. We ended up building one of the biggest PBN hosting platforms.
Okay.
It was still more of a combination of software plus infrastructure as a service combined. But at that stage, I did not know much about the research part.
Yeah.
I ended up building something that I found there is a scope and opportunity about. But
Mm-hmm.
again, that's when I did not know something like a word like TAM existed.
Uh-huh.
And the market that I was focusing on, the TAM was literally in 7 digits, just 7 digits.
Okay.
Rapidly grew that company up again, that particular product, I would say, not a company, to over a seven-figure USD again. I have a
Uh-huh.
complete interview about this, but and then after growing that fast, the
Yeah.
next month there was zero growth
Oh,
because we
yeah.
realized that the kind of industry that we picked in, which
Uh-huh.
is PBN, private block network,
Yeah.
it's a subcategory inside SEO, and inside that subcategory, it's another subcategory inside,
Okay.
and
Damn.
which is
Okay.
time was very small. So once you capture enough market,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot grow further
Hmm.
because that certain competition, they are not growing
There's a ceiling, right, to it.
because the new customers are not coming in at that pace that someone wants in an industry. So if
Uh-huh.
someone's not coming in, how do you go out even in sell? So I started doing workshops across India, teaching people what is PBN. I
Okay.
started educating people to generate. This was
Yeah.
this was my strategy of doing demand generation.
Yeah.
But the problem with the strategy was that our sales cycle moved up almost 9 months because
Okay.
of, and you cannot
Yeah.
grow if you're focusing on small businesses, and if your sales cycle is 9 months, it's over for you at that stage. You're not going to grow.
Yeah.
And this is where we finally decided that it's time to make an exit from that.
Hmm.
And that's exactly after I think 6 or 9 months approximately, we couldn't find any buyer because the buyers would simply ask, there is no growth, there's
Yeah.
no opportunity. So
Yeah.
we came up with a very unique idea where we sold out our tech to some other company. We sold out our customer base to our competitor, and we made a very smart sort of an exit over here. And
Uh-huh.
that's when I realized there are different ways of acquisition. There are different ways
Yeah.
of exiting. You don't
Yeah.
have to look out for buyer and sit down and make them buy out, right? So there are
Yeah.
different ways. You can also sell your email list to someone. So there
Uh-huh.
are different ways of how you can like unpuzzle the entire puzzle of
Yeah.
an and make a good exit out of it still. And after that, we also decided that we're gonna make an exit from our very first startup as well, which is Power Up Hosting, because AWS had just entered the world,
Yeah.
and
Good call.
they started developing things so rapidly that they started giving away $100,000 credit to SaaS companies.
Wow.
And I told my co-founder, "There's no way we are competing.
Yeah.
We cannot win this war. There are some wars you cannot win, and you need to decide when to quit and when to exit.
Uh-huh.
Instead of getting zero, let's make an exit." And that's when we made our first exit, because we had made a lot of good friends,
Yeah.
even competitors, but we were sitting at the same data center. We would share lunch, right? All our competitors would sit down and just share lunch, because there was again so much moat and so much opportunity for everyone that you're not really competing, even though you're competing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they ended up sort of acquiring us at that stage. And that's how I made like two exits. One, a very straightforward exit of a company. Second was just a very strategic of like splitting up things and then making an exit.
Hmm.
And that's when I started working on my third startup, which was an utter fail.
Okay.
Because I knew, okay, everything has went perfect for me. Everything is
Yeah.
going spectacular. This is going to be rock solid again, right?
Yeah.
But right from me hiring my team to like making every decision, building
Hmm.
wrong product at the wrong time, building a
Hmm.
horrible product.
Hmm.
My CTO sort of cheated on me. Uh,
Hmm.
every decision that you can possibly think of can go right.
Man.
Wrong. Even the smallest of decision of me getting the right office went wrong, by the way. It
Oh,
was
wow.
that horrible. I ended up losing about $200,000 in that venture. But more importantly, I lost a lot of reputation because I ended up launching an alpha product because someone influenced me to do so. Again,
No.
another wrong
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
And series of decision led to a lot of challenges for me in my life, where those customers would abuse me, those customers would talk shit about me, and I went through a lot of hate during that stage of my life, which still affects me because there are many of those people that still like talks wrong about you, right?
Yeah.
Because once those bridges are burned, people will always talk shit about you.
Yeah.
But then again, because of all of those issues, I went into almost like a 9 month of clinical depression. Came to a point where I thought, I don't know if I even want to live anymore.
Yeah.
But then the moment you start having such thought, the only thing that comes in your mind is your family,
Yeah.
right? You cannot affect your family. And eventually I started trying to find my answers. And
Mhm.
I think one of the most critical video that sort of like really changed my life was the video from Simon Sinek,
Okay.
where he spoke about what's your why.
Yeah.
The whole time I was asking wrong questions instead of asking why.
I
And
remember.
when I looked for why my SaaS failed, I
Okay.
landed on this article by Lighter Capital,
Uh-huh.
who is the biggest debt fund VC for SaaS companies in US.
Uh-huh.
And they said that 92% of the SaaS companies fail within the first 3 years. When I
Okay.
read that, I was like, that's me, right? That 92% is me. I
Yeah.
did not
Yeah.
see anything else. I was just like, I was trying to connect some dots, and
Yeah.
I started finding my answer. That was the first answer that I got, that okay, now that I'm in 92%, what do I have to do to get into the 8%?
8%. Yeah.
And that's when my research changed. My
Okay.
research went to much deeper. I started finding out more things, more
Mm.
stuff, what's happening in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And when I figured out everything, I ended up building Pitchground.
Amazing. Wow.
Pitchground is that
Yeah.
SaaS marketplace,
Uh-huh.
basically, where we are just catering and connecting those early stage SaaS companies
Yeah.
to early adopters. So when I started researching more, I saw that there are a bunch of, so there are three different phases, right,
Okay.
of initial SaaS companies.
Okay.
First are the innovators.
Yeah.
Innovators are the ones who would adopt the product at an alpha stage.
Okay. Hmm.
Then there are early adopters.
Mm-hmm.
Early adopters are someone who would adopt your product at an beta stage,
Okay.
right? And then you have the actual real users who would then adopt your product once the product is mature.
Uh-huh.
Those are the three different phases. And I was like,
Yeah.
why don't I focus on these early adopters? Because they are the ones who wants to move fast.
Yeah.
They are the ones who wants to adopt the latest technology.
Yeah.
They are the ones who are already aware of the technological advancement happening. They
Mm-hmm.
are the ones who are ready to spend money as well because they have money.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who would actually talk about you everywhere.
Exactly. If you crack them, then your word of mouth becomes easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what every single early stage SaaS company wants, right? So
Yeah.
that sort of became our tagline, that let a pitch ground help you raise your seed capital without losing any equity. And that sort of hook
Yeah.
really hit every SaaS company founder very hard, because they were like, "Ah, I finally do not have to give up my equity.
Yeah.
Let's work with them." And that's how it all got started.
Then what's your model then? Like if you don't work in terms of equity, then
Just like Amazon but for software.
okay. Okay.
Just like Amazon, you can go and list any other products, right?
Uh-huh.
Similarly, you can come and list your SaaS on our product. So the model is very straightforward, that on every single sale that happens, we get a certain percentage of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how like every single marketplace models are in general.
Yeah.
So we kept on building that. And so far till date, in the last 4 years, in fact, this 25th of September, we're going to complete our 4 years
Amazing.
officially. Uh,
Yeah.
so September is 2018 is that date that changed my life. I might forget my birthday, but September 2018 is a date that is embedded in my head, deep root.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so far we've crossed over $8 million in sales as of now.
Wow.
We're on
Congratulations.
the way of $5 million already at Pitchground. But then the journey did not stop over here, because again, in this journey is where I found my second co-founder and CTO, Lucas, who's based out of
Uh-huh.
Lithuania. He's an
Uh-huh.
ex Google and NASA developer. So, and he had a very similar background like me, where he created a SaaS while also working over there, and he couldn't acquire customers. He could
Uh-huh.
get good tech, right?
Yeah.
So that's when we connected deeply right away, because we were like that, like you get that bro feeling right away.
Yeah.
Like,
अरे
you can
मेरे साथ भी हुआ तेरे साथ भी हुआ हाँ
you can sense that pain
yeah
right away, and that pain is what really connected to us right away.
yeah
We started having a discussion, and I told him about my story, and he told me one thing: Udit, when the time is right, we'll
uh,
rebuild, right?
Yeah.
And this year we rebuilt it, which is known as firstsales.io today.
Wow. Yeah.
And firstsales.io, in just 3 months of the launch, has done $250,000 already.
Wow.
And we are on a runway to hit probably around like $1.5 million within
Hmm.
1.5 to $2 million
Yeah.
within the next 1 year or so. We have just acquired the very first company in my entire life uh, today. So it's been
Today. Okay.
yeah,
Wow. Congratulations, man.
your paperwork happened today.
Oh, wow. Okay. What is the company? Like, I mean, would
I
you like
can't
to share?
disclose anything right now at the
Oh,
moment.
man. Okay. All right.
But like
Well,
it's been a crazy journey, and at the
uh-huh.
same time, me being a Marwadi, I don't take like losses very lightly. So I
Yeah.
can bounce back on that as well. Yeah, I think but the depression and all the down things have really taught me few things that
Mm.
if you really want to grow, you need to be humble. You
Yeah.
need to grind, and more importantly, you need to be rooted to your to as deep as possible. There's a saying that the taller the tree, the deeper the
Longer
root.
the roots. Yeah.
So
Deeper the
you
roots.
have to stay to your roots. You have to stay deep to your roots. Don't try to fly, because if you fall down, you might not be alive. But if you
Yeah.
fall on the ground and if you're just walking, you can still get up and walk again.
Yeah.
So, and in order for you to continue your journey, you need to be alive. That's
Yeah.
all you need to do. So that's been my story and that's been my journey.
Man, I loved your story. It was like I could actually visualize everything and you could see it as a movie. And I love that, like how you had your ups, your downs, but you'd not give up, right? Like, I mean, that's not so many people. Like, I mean, I don't know so many people who would do that. I mean, even after facing so many losses, even after going into depression and everything, you did not stop. You did not give up, and you continued. And now today you acquired a company. I'm like, I'm very happy that you told me that. So I mean, that's amazing, dude. Like the whole journey has been fantastic. But on the same journey, like I had one question. So how did you like how did you the singer that like when you had this whole thing going on, when you had your down phase and everything, what do you do to like come out of it? And like how did you come out of it? Because it's not easy, right? I mean, you mentioned like you thought about your parents and everything, but that wouldn't have happened like in a second, because it took a lot of time and there was a lot of things going on. So what
I, w-
happened?
I would say take professional help. There's nothing wrong in taking professional help, right?
Uh-huh.
There are doctors for everything. Take professional help.
Yeah.
Speak to people. It's very important to clear your thoughts, clear your mind, and
Hmm.
try to get some clarity, because when you go through that depression phase, right, you literally see zero light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
What you have to do is you have to figure out where the light is, where
Hmm.
the end of the tunnel is, and that's what that phase teaches you.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, just get professional help, like
Got
just
it.
go out. Don't speak with your friends, right? Don't speak with anyone, just go and get professional help. That's all I would
Yeah,
say.
there's still a stigma, but in like in India and society, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to if you're going to a professional for seeking such help, like about mental health and everything, there's still a lot of stigma around that topic. So, I mean, like, it's very hard for a person also to go and even like talk to their family about it, right? Did you experience that, or how was it for you?
No, so I think my family has been pretty open about things. My family has seen me grown. My family and my dad has always ran his business. So
Mm,
money was not really like that sort of a challenge, especially because my entire mom side's family, everyone runs a business. Everyone on the dad sides, they run a business. So entrepreneurship was just taught to me by being born in the Goenka family itself, right?
yeah.
But I always took a path where I would never take anything from anyone. I wanted to build everything myself,
Hmm.
build every connection myself. I've never taken any sort of help from
Hmm.
anyone in my family when it comes to building these things. So,
Got it.
the family had been like very open in terms of these kind of discussions,
Hmm.
and then again, I think one needs to care less about what the society would think, because the society did not come and help you.
Yeah.
You have to help yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when my thought process changed, that you don't need to prove others wrong. You need to prove yourself right.
Love that line. I love that line. Okay, on that note, let's digress and let's talk about SaaS. I want to know more about that from you. So I have this question for you. How is the SaaS ecosystem in India, and how is it different from other countries like say the US?
So there was an article out by Motilal Oswal, and this was a very first, such a big financial company
Mm-hmm.
that has released a report around SaaS,
Yeah.
and they said that India will contribute anywhere from 5 to 6% of the global revenue by 2030
Mm-hmm.
in the SaaS industry, and that 5 to 6% is 50 to 60 billion dollars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not even talking about valuations. I'm just talking about real revenue. I'm talking about real dhanda,
Yeah.
right? So $1 trillion of revenue flow
Yeah.
will happen by 2030. That
Wow.
is how big the opportunity is. So forget about US market for an example for a moment.
Yeah.
If you just leverage India as a market over the course of next 8 or 9 years,
Uh-huh.
you have a potential of building, if not a unicorn, but at least 100 to 500 crore company.
Mm-hmm. But
That's the
there's so many, yeah, but there's so many companies out there. Like, I mean, how do you stand out of the crowd? Because there's a lot of noise, right? Going on.
beauty about SaaS is that you focus on one thing and you solve one problem, and a
Uh-huh.
company usually have hundreds of problems. Right. So, for example, right now when we are doing a call or a video call,
Yeah.
there are probably multiple softwares involved,
Yeah.
right? Multiple hardwares involved. There is not just one thing that is happening.
Yeah.
So there's so much those opportunities. Now, if someone cannot afford the software, it opens up doors and opportunity for someone else. And that's it. Because every stage you have different level of buyers, you have different level of users who are
Mm-hmm.
willing to pay up to certain amount, just like how it works in service. So there is no difference in a service industry and a software industry. That's why
Okay.
known as
Yeah.
SaaS. So
Yeah.
most often people forget that the S at the end of SaaS stands for service.
Yeah.
It doesn't stands for software. It starts with the software,
Yeah.
right? So in this case as well, that's what you're doing. So you need to now decide: are you going to cater to a small business? Are
Mm-hmm.
you going to cater to even smaller businesses, which is, let's say, a creator, a
Yeah.
freelancer? Are you
Yeah.
going to cater to medium sizes or enterprise now? So
Yeah.
again,
Okay.
there's
Mm.
doors and opportunity for everyone. So this report from Motilal Oswal gave so much confidence to every single SaaS founder, especially in India, that it started motivating more SaaS founders coming out from India. And you can see so many companies now raising capital. I think I just tweeted yesterday itself that a company, Indian SaaS company that is doing around $1,200 in MRR, just $1,200, is
Uh-huh.
raising capital at $13.4 million.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So
13.4 million. Yeah.
yes, I had to literally refresh the page 10 times to see
Yeah.
whether I get it right,
Am I
right?
dreaming?
It's, I probably thought they missed out like three zeros
Yeah.
or something, right? In the MRR, but no, that wasn't the case. This is what is happening in India at the moment, and this is all happening behind the scenes because SaaS is one industry which is not hyped by media
Uh-huh.
because it's not a glamorous industry.
Yeah.
It's a service, right? The software itself is a boring industry, first of all, and then you have services on top of that, which is again a boring industry in general, right? So it's
Mhm.
not glamorized industry like a D2C industry where
Yeah.
you're talking so much because you're directly talking to consumers, right? And usually what happens is when you're talking to consumer and your consumer brand, you
Yeah.
are a lot more famous, but
Yeah.
you make less money because
Yeah.
the businesses really happen between businesses in the
Uh-huh.
so that's what is happening, and the opportunity and scope is massive based on what the data has been coming out.
Awesome, man. And so I have another question for you, which is related to your experience. Like you've launched multiple companies and you've exited multiple, right? So if you could tell us like what are some of your key learnings, and is there any company that you regret exiting?
No, no, absolutely. I do not regret exiting anything as of now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I think I made right exits at the right time. In fact, I wish if my last failure, I would have shut it down a year prior. I would have saved at least half of my money. But I had so much emotion involved into it that I was like, I think let me go, let me keep going.
Yeah.
Sometimes you as a founder need to know when to exit. It's
Yeah.
very important, and do not involve too much emotions into running a business. Be passionate about it.
Yeah.
You need to understand that when you're taking a decision,
Yeah.
take a decision from your brain and not
Mhm.
from your heart, because your heart will always mislead you when it comes to taking business decisions.
Mhm.
Any given point. This again coming from my own personal experience.
Yeah.
So, during this entire journey, I think some of my key learnings would be first, know when to exit.
Okay.
Things are not working out, either exit or shut it down before it's too late.
Mhm.
Don't have a hope of things will just automatically work things out
Mhm.
unless and until you are a very experienced professional, and that downfall is happening because of something like COVID,
Yeah.
or something like recession.
Yeah.
If global impact is making that impact, then it's a temporary impact.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
you are in a bull run, the market is a bull run, and if your company is not growing at that stage,
Yeah.
something is wrong. So you need to know when you need to exit,
Hmm.
because sometimes you have a far bigger competitor who has far more money, who
Yeah.
can compete.
Yeah.
Either you pivot or you exit. Sometimes that's really smarter. Second, if you want to continue bootstrapping,
Mhm.
try to exit the first one or two company of yours so that you can build a much bigger dream. Every founder, when they move on, they end
Yeah.
up building something better, because not only they don't repeat the mistake that they have made,
Yeah.
but at the same time they end up having money, which also
Mhm.
means that they end up owning majority of the equity in their company. And
Mhm.
ultimately we choose entrepreneurship for freedom. A lot of founders often forget that when they try to raise capital, because by the time they probably go IPO, if they can, they end up with like 3 to 5% equity in their company,
Yeah.
which is smaller than ESOP pools today.
Uh-huh.
So understand why you're getting into entrepreneurship. That's just, I think, the second mistake often founders make. So they need
Mhm.
to realize why they got into that. Third is they forget enjoying.
Yeah.
They forget cherishing every little moments of their life.
Okay.
So whenever we make any sale, right, I write it down in my Slack channel and we are celebrating, for an
Oh,
example.
love it.
So
Yeah.
the small things, right? That makes again a huge difference. So cherish those every moment, because these memories is what you will probably come back 3 years down the road and take a screenshot and post about it. Right?
Exactly. It's also like, I mean, people chase the big wins, but you don't realize that it's these small things that when you turn back and you see that it's a huge thing, right? I mean, it leads to a big thing at the end of the day. So, I mean, like instead of chasing that, make a note of all the smaller things that you've been doing. You'll be happier.
Absolutely. And I think one of the last mistakes that I made, which I want everyone to avoid, is start hiring from the top and not from the bottom.
Okay.
What I mean by this is founders, especially early stage startups, they try to save every penny and they try to end up hiring interns. Now, the
Hmm.
problem is they end up spending 6 months of their life training an intern only to see that they have left the company,
Yeah.
because they are 19, they are 20. They're not going to stick around. It's not their company. They don't care.
Yeah.
But the founders end up putting a lot of emotions into, oh my God, I've given you 6 months of my life. Now you owe me for the next 2, 3 years. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So spend a little more money and start hiring from the top and not from the bottom. If you can find a co-founder, it'll make your life very easy. Plus, you also become a lot more trustable and accountable in the market. When you have
Hmm.
people involved in the company at that level, people
Hmm.
often trust you. Even the investors would often trust you at that stage. That's
Yeah.
the fourth thing. Fifth,
Yeah.
build, and this is the most important one,
Yeah.
don't build a company for investors. Build a company for your customers.
Okay. Love it. I love these points. Man, yeah, I'm getting to learn so much on in this podcast itself. Dude, okay. So, okay. This thing with that, okay, you mentioned about like you grew Pitchground to a $20 million company, right? And it's a bootstrap company. So how did that happen? Like, what is that journey been like?
So 3 years ago, when I was trying to raise capital, right? But everyone was raising capital, so I was into hyped up as well. That let me go ahead, raise capital, get some money in the bank so that I can grow. Reached
Uh-huh.
out. It was just before pre-COVID. I
Uh-huh.
reached out to 31 investors. 31 said no to me. They
Uh-huh.
said, this model is not going to work, this strategy is not going to work, this idea is not going to work.
Yeah.
And I told them that this is going to be big. Look, the India trend is happening and it's going to happen. By
Mhm.
2030 is what I was expecting, but COVID hit and then the SaaS blew up after that.
Yeah.
Now those same investors are chasing me all day long. But again, I'm not interested. So at that stage, about a year and a half ago, they gave us a valuation of $20 million. We signed a soft term sheet
Yeah.
at that stage. But then we backed out. We decided internally that, hey, someone has already given us a term sheet at that stage. Let's just keep going because we have the money in the bank. We know
Uh-huh.
how to do the business. We know how to do things. Why to give up on this as well, right? Why to lose out on the freedom? Because the moment you start seeing the actual term sheet and the conditions and things in that and those paperwork, right? Those are never being shared openly by founders.
Yeah.
So that's when we were like, this is not what we want. We don't
Uh-huh.
want to end up becoming an employee in our own company.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
want to take decisions, and especially when we are dealing with early stage companies,
Mhm.
you have to take fast decisions.
Yeah.
Because the
Mhm.
early stage companies pivot and change very quickly. So we
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
adapt to those market changes and take action very quickly. Now imagine we onboarding 10 investors,
Yeah.
two of them are not available because they have a meeting,
Yeah.
and the entire sort of one sort of decision is now delayed by 3 months.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, the tech is delayed by 3 months. Now, because of that, the execution is delayed by another 3 months.
Mhm.
In those 9 months, the market has completely moved away and shifted to some other trend because every year in SaaS industry, there's a new trend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every year. So last year, last year it was all about community softwares. This
Uh-huh.
year, it's all about AI softwares now.
Okay.
You have to move very fast in this industry.
So
So
in that case, like, is it like you are never going to this thing with that raise, or is it just at the moment you're not thinking about it at all?
never say no, never say never for anything, right?
Uh-huh.
We always keep the doors of opportunity open, but we are not actively looking to sort of take the money anymore because I have personally started investing
Mhm.
actively as an angel investor as well. As of today, I've
Mhm.
invested in about 21 startups as well,
Yeah.
which has massively affected in our growth. And when you raise capital, there is a term that's clearly mentioned: you cannot invest anywhere except for public market.
Okay. Mhm.
Clearly mentioned you cannot on your personal capacity, you literally cannot,
Okay.
right? So again, all of those challenges and stuff, so we decided, why do we want to even do that at the moment? So, and plus at the same time, we are not in a rush. We don't want to build a unicorn in next 1 2 years.
Uh-huh.
That's not why we built this for, because this is a very purpose driven brand for us.
Okay.
I definitely understand that the funds can help us build a better tech. It can help us build even a better team.
Mhm.
It can help us to grow faster.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's not like we're not growing either. We're
Mhm.
growing at a very good pace, right?
Yeah.
So Amazon grew. If you look at the last 25 years, right?
Mhm.
They grew at 27% CAGR,
Okay. Wow. Okay.
and we are growing at almost 32% CAGR.
Fuck. Okay. Wow.
So it's all about long-term compounding.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
So why to even bother and try to rush? Because the best companies today have taken 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You look at Asian Paints,
Yeah.
it was set up in this is one of my favorite companies, set up in 1940 or 1942.
Mhm.
Reliance almost what 1982 or 1983. You
Yeah.
look at Infosys, it was I think 1995.
Mhm.
Right? You look at HDFC around, I think 1990. So if you look at all of the top, you look at Apple, you look
Yeah.
at 1998. I think Apple was probably 1980 or
19.
90.
Yeah. No, I think in 1970.
No, no,
Apple.
not 70. I think it was 80s, somewhere in
Okay.
1980s.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Early. Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
So again, all of these companies took 30, 40 years
Mhm.
or a minimum of at least 10 years, or sorry, 15 to 20 years to build. So
Mhm.
I'm in no rush at the moment, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
who knows that the way things are changing, I might become curious about something else and I might chase that, right? I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So why to, and unless and until you are ready to commit the next 15 years of your life,
Yeah.
don't capital. Just don't raise capital.
Makes
You
sense.
have
Yeah.
to stick to that for at least next 15 years because at every stage, every investor coming in would want an exit.
Yeah.
And the last thing you don't want is, instead of focusing on having a call with your customers to close them, you're having a call,
Another
uh,
tip. Yeah.
teasing your investor that I'm going to look for another investor very soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I went through that 6 months of process when I was trying to raise. We lost a lot of revenue opportunity because my time went into trying to speak with all those investors
Yeah.
rather than trying to actually focus on customers.
Uh-huh.
That's when I decided, let's not do that. Instead
Hmm.
of trying to raise $500,000,
Yeah.
let's $500,000 worth of customers.
Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
it had reverse sort of like engineering and psychology in terms
Hmm.
of whatever we wanted to raise, let's find the same amount with our customers.
Got it.
We
Yeah.
don't have to use the equity,
Hmm.
and we end up getting customers and we end up growing in the end.
And there is so much opportunity anyway, right? It's not like there is no opportunity and you have to like seek it, like, I mean, try very hard, right?
Best part about today is again, we have something like LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
LinkedIn Sales Navigator is an absolute gold mine.
Yeah.
And it cost what? $59. People, when they say that, oh my God, it's a lot of money. And I'm like, just quit your business and get a job. $59 is a lot of money, right? You need to just get a job at that point of stage. You
Okay.
cannot expect everything in the world for free and then expect your business to grow as well. Start thinking these as an investment.
Hmm.
Imagine the amount of time you will save trying to prospect yourself. You can fire a couple of your SDRs, or your one of your SDR can generate like the next 10,000 leads for you.
So,
Imagine, build up those sales processes.
mhm. I have a question for you since you mentioned LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So what would you suggest like early founders do? Like how do they utilize that tool and like how do they make the most of it? Since you mentioned that's a tool that's helping you, right? So what would you suggest?
I think before getting LinkedIn Sales Navigator, one needs to be very clear with their ICP,
Okay.
which is ideal customer profiling.
Uh-huh.
So if your ICP is very clear, then LinkedIn has the best filters in the world today, where you
Okay.
can literally categorize that. Okay, I just want to focus in HR companies, right? Now, if I am building an HR tech, I
Hmm.
would just go type the companies that have at least 200 employees
Yeah.
because they're the ones really struggling.
Yeah.
The problem is that the HR tech companies would start focusing on startups that have got 5 people, 6 people,
Hmm.
10 people.
Yeah.
They're going to hire what, like 1, 2 people. They don't even need a software for that. Software is required by someone who has a requirement of hiring at least next 200 people in the next 1 year. They
Uh-huh.
need to organize everything,
The
and
medium size, right? Yeah.
this company struggle and they don't realize that. So this is where I think LinkedIn Sales Navigator is absolute brilliant because you can categorize all those filters. You can have
Hmm.
the exact persona that you want, and you
Uh-huh.
reach out to them, and that's when you see that you're reaching out to people who has money
Yeah.
and who has pain.
Yeah.
And reach out to these two things.
Yeah.
Money there.
Perfect. Amazing, man. Okay, so now let's talk about content creation because you've been creating content actively, and you just told me like before this recording that you wanted to start podcasting as well, or have you already started? So,
Uh, yeah, so I've started podcasting under forsales.io, but I want to start on my personal level as well,
uh-huh.
under my own personal brand.
So with respect to creating content, what are your goals with respect to creating content? Let's start with that.
I think it's very straightforward that first, number one, I want to start giving back to the community because if you remember the start of the story, I said that I learned everything from books and YouTube,
Hmm.
right? So I respect those creators back in those days who created videos.
Yeah,
If they wouldn't have created videos and put up on YouTube, I don't know where else would I have learned from.
yeah.
So that kind of like thing is still in my mind, right? And I want to try to give it back as much as possible.
Hmm.
That's more on like a personal capacity level,
Got it.
right? But on more of a commercial level, I see it as a better distribution opportunity for me.
Of course. Yeah.
That distribution also builds a lot of trust,
Hmm.
authenticity, and that gets you a much better opportunity to connect with very good quality of people.
Hmm.
Because it's not so content creation is all about filtering out the 99% that want to connect with you and focusing on that 1% that have genuinely want to connect and want to grow with you.
Yeah.
That's what content creation gives you as an opportunity.
Perfect. So is that something that you would recommend early founders as well? Because like, I mean, to improve their distribution and not just focus on like building the personal brand and everything.
Absolutely. I think today what I would suggest to every single founder is first build your personal brand. build
Mhm.
distribution, build an audience,
Mhm.
and then test your ideas with them,
Yeah.
right? Once you have an audience, you can keep on floating around 10 different ideas to see what really triggers with them, and then
Mhm.
start building an MVP around it.
Yeah.
So that's a much better way to do it. And
Yeah.
again, today there are platforms like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They're spectacular. I think that if you have a good value content
Yeah.
and if you can learn a bit of storytelling and copywriting on top
Yeah.
of that,
Yeah.
that's like adding fuel on top of fire and just like having a blast on a go, right?
Yeah. And I see
And now
you're
what
having a blast. Yeah.
yeah, people usually do is they would just write and post and move on.
Yeah.
How it works, you
Okay.
need to excite people to make them read your content.
Uh-huh.
So I think if just people read that and just use LinkedIn, it is
Mhm.
a crazy blast. I think when I applied for
Mhm.
LinkedIn Accelerator program, I think I probably had like 2 or 3 thousand followers. I think I
And
had
I,
zero hopes of getting
yeah.
people into Accelerator program. And when I got that email, I was like, wait, let me just again check that I actually made it, right. I thought it was some sort of rejection email, but no, I actually got approved. And
Yeah.
I think one of the best things that has happened with me is I got consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really got consistent because back in the mind, I was like, I need to post. I need to post. I need to post, right? Got amazing community connected with you guys. You guys are
Yeah.
like absolute brilliant.
Uh-huh.
And then it started creating further opportunities because one of my concepts was actually building first sales in public. First sales
Mhm.
just came out.
Yeah.
Uh, that was my thesis when I applied for it. And during those 10 weeks, I
Yeah.
took purchase from zero to $100,000.
Uh-huh.
Today, it's quarter of a million,
Uh-huh.
but during that 10 weeks, it grew to 100,000. So not only did I worked on my thesis, but I proved people that you can build things from scratch in public just using one platform, LinkedIn. You don't even have
Wow.
to do anything else.
Yeah.
Just create good value content around what problem that you're trying to solve, create
Mhm.
awareness, educate people, and as
Mhm.
long as you do that, people will come and buy from you. And that's exactly what happened.
Mhm.
Content creation works wonder. And today, I think even in the future, if the founders were not going to work on it,
Yeah.
they will really struggle to get distribution
Mhm.
because ultimately product can be built by everyone.
Yeah.
Distribution cannot be built by everyone. So
Perfect.
focus on distribution. You look at those traditional companies like HUL,
Uh-huh.
ITC,
Uh-huh.
Reliance Retail.
Mhm.
Why are they so big? Because they've nailed down on. You go to a tier
Perfect.
four city
Yeah.
and you find, let's say, Britannia ka biscuit, right? Or you will find a Maggie for sure of Nestle, right? That's the kind of
Uh,
penetration that they have done. And
huh.
brands need to do that. But again, focus on those content, right? As
Mhm.
long as you do that, you would have those opportunities.
Love it. So if I ask you like three tips that you could give founders to get better at creating content, what would they be? Three tips.
I think the number one tip would be start very niche,
Okay.
like very, very, very niche. So
Mhm.
initially, when I started focusing on creating contents on LinkedIn, for an example, I was just talking about SaaS. That's it. No
Mhm.
marketing, no sales, just SaaS.
Yeah.
Then I went a little broader. I started talking about SaaS sales.
Mhm.
Then I started talking about SaaS marketing. So you go a little broader as time goes by, but start with niche because you want to first attract the most relevant people into your
Mhm.
network and not the masses. Later on, you will
True.
eventually have masses because your first 1,000 people that you connect with, the true connection that you build with,
Yeah.
are the ones who will engage the most with you. And
Totally. Yeah.
engagement is what matters when it comes to these kind of content creation. So
Mhm.
first focus and start niche.
Yeah.
The second is learn storytelling.
Yeah.
People don't remember data. People will
Mhm.
remember your face. People will not remember anything.
Yeah.
People today remember my story of my depression. People remember my failures. People
Yeah.
remember how I built Pitchground.
Yeah.
People come and talk to me about how I wear like red color t-shirt all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that as well. I was gonna ask you. Yeah.
So again, tell a story.
Yeah.
Always tell a story because that's how our human brains are wired with. And that's the only
Yeah.
thing I would always remember and talk about. So tell story. And I think the third, the most important thing is just be consistent.
Love it.
You
Good.
don't need to create the best content in the world. We
Mm-hmm.
just need to show up and create content every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because sometimes people often forget that while you might think your content is average, it can be very valuable for someone who has zero clue about that industry or about that
Definitely.
particular sector. So always remember that your content is valuable for someone.
Yeah. Love that. Love the points. I loved everything that you said. So, I mean, on that note, we are done with the podcast. But before we end, I have a special game that I always play with my this thing with that with my guests. So just give me a minute. I'll just be right back with that thing.
One eternity later.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah. So that game, the game is called Rapid Brew. Okay, I have a deck of cards, and these cards have questions. I'm going to shuffle the cards, and like I'll just pick random five cards after that, and whatever question comes up, I'll read it out, and you answer in 12 seconds or less.
Oh, I'll try. I'll try my best.
Gonna be fun. I'm shuffling. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm just spreading it out, and I'm picking one random card. Okay. So, what's one trend you hope never comes back?
I think the ice bucket challenge.
Why? It was for a good cause, man. ALS.
I think it was for a good cause, but people actually weren't doing it for the cause in the end.
Yeah.
People
They
had
just
lost all the hopes and causes completely. So
yeah.
I that as long as things people understand teachings for cause, it's all good, right? But if they lose the motivation and just have it for fun, I feel like that needs to stop then.
I feel like people threw a lot of ice buckets over you.
The amount of water that was being wasted after that, I feel that would have been actually saved.
Man, yeah, I totally get it. Okay, I'm picking next one. Okay. What's one of your personal quirks?
What do you define as quirk like?
So something that you do habitually, like it could be anything. Like say, I don't know, like I don't know, I'm just yeah, it's something that you do habitually, right?
I think one thing I do habitually, like in terms of work wise or in terms of like personal life.
Personally.
So I think one of the things that I do habitually in a personal life is I always try to put my emotions into words and try
Mhm.
to write that into a song.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
yes, I'm a composer. I'm a level three guitarist. Not many people know this.
Oh, wow.
Right, guitarist from rock school,
Uh-huh.
and I used to write like a lot of songs. I used to like compose a lot of songs during my college days as well.
Uh-huh.
Like internet happened, work happened, so now it has just some sort of like an hobby. So when
Okay.
I find time, whenever I am like just sitting somewhere, when my thoughts start of like flowing in, I start writing down, and it comes from my mom because she writes a lot of poems. So that
Wow.
like artistic side and the entire storytelling side
Yeah.
which came from her.
Love it, dude.
That's what I would say, like in terms of like habitual.
Okay, I can see another habit. I mean, the red t-shirt. What's the story behind that?
Oh, it's a very simple sort of story.
Yeah.
So Pitchground's logo color is red,
Uh-huh.
and what happened was one of the days I randomly wore red, and someone told me that, oh my god, why are you wearing like Pitchground's color? Because usually what happens is that I generally get like a black, and then I
Yeah.
put up like whatever the logo is, or white, or whatever the logo is. But this time I got like a red, just
Yeah.
random, because I couldn't find, like, I think a black or white was out of the stock. Uh,
Hmm.
so I just got that, and I had printed like Pitchground in white color into that.
Yeah.
Wore that, and the people were like, "Oh my god, I love the branding and everything." So I was like, "Let me do this. Why don't I experiment a bit?" So
Yeah.
last year I updated all my profile pictures with a red color T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I started seeing that people started noticing that, and
Hmm.
because of that, my number of followers also started going up, because usually red is something not people wear,
Yeah.
right? And red also stands for power. By the
Hmm.
that color stands for power. That color
Yeah.
stands for aggressiveness.
Yeah.
So it catches people eye very quickly, and this
Yeah.
is why Coke's color, bottle color is red,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Because it shows power.
It
So
stands out. Yeah.
yeah, it stands loud. So I was like, let me do that.
Hmm.
And it started working. People started recognizing me.
Yeah.
And apparently, my Twitter account blew up because all of my tweets started going viral.
Uh-huh.
So one of the days when I was being invited at an event in Bangalore, I
Mhm.
think I had about like 20,000 oddish followers, and I had a verified account on Twitter.
Mhm.
So the person reached out to me and he told me, "Hey, you are that red color t-shirt guy from Twitter." He didn't remember my
Wow.
name. He didn't even
Yeah.
remember verified, but he remembered I was that red color t-shirt guy. And I was like, oh, this seems to be working.
Yeah.
So since then, I was like, now I started becoming a little more aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
Started as something very random to
Yeah.
something that I was like an experimentation stage to I'm actually now aware that this is working.
Yeah.
And what I did was during my Like a program,
Yeah.
I wrote an entire article on it and
Mhm.
told people, now watch me. I'm gonna wear and I'm gonna make sure you notice this if you're not noticing. Right. So I wrote an entire story around it now that how it
Yeah.
actually, and because of that, now people actually observe and notice that. So
Yeah.
now this is when every time when I was at the ceremony party as well, I
Uh-huh.
wore red, I wore
I
Pitchground.
noticed that. Yeah.
Even at the recent meetup, I again wore red.
Yeah.
So every time now, most of the podcast, I wear red. By
Yeah.
the red is not my favorite color. Again, I do it
Mine
because
too. Yeah.
so now it connects with Pitchground brand right away. So anytime people see me,
Uh-huh.
this has increased our overall conversion because when I run ads, you
Yeah.
it's an instant like, okay, this is there. Let me buy this. If he's
Yeah.
recommending the product, it must be fantastic. Our conversion started skyrocketing because of this now.
Uh-huh.
So it
Lovely.
all got connected one by one by one by one. With just someone randomly telling me that, hey, like the branding looks awesome, the t-shirt that you're wearing. All started with that, and it was random again because the platform was probably like out of white or black color t-shirt that day when I was ordering, and it
Wow.
all started with that.
Everything fell into place in that way.
Yeah.
So that's a tip to everybody. If you want to stand out, wear red.
It really works, like the color hacking really works.
Mhm.
As long as again you have to also make sure that you make your users aware of this scenario as well. That's also
Yeah. 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 Okay. Next question. Next question. Okay. Name your best tip on. Oh, no. 1 minute. Not this. Not this. 1 minute.
you can change that.
Yeah. That question kind of inappropriate. So that's why. Okay. What's one skill you're known for?
I would say like my sales skill, my closing skills.
Okay. Wow. And what's one of your favorite creative outlet?
Creative outlet.
Yes.
Um Again, can you define what is outlet over here?
No, I mean, like creative outlet could be one thing that you mentioned, like you play music and you do storytelling. So there's so many different things that you mentioned actually. So, I mean, is there anything apart from these things that you mentioned?
No, I think that's pretty much it about my life. My life is all about like a bit of music, a lot of SaaS, a lot of selling,
Yeah.
and a good amount of marketing, and then rest is just me.
How do you develop your sales skill? What do you do? Like, I mean, is there any tips
I'm,
that you would like to
I'm a
give?
Marwari, that's all I will say.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm just born with that skill without unknowingly, knowingly. There is a saying that if you're born in a Marwadi's family,
uh,
you have already completed your MBA.
okay. Final question. All right. Final question. Finish this sentence. I feel connected to my purpose when.
When a customer comes and tell me, thank you for building this.
Wow. Okay. Lovely, man. Lovely. I love ending the call on a nice note, the podcast on a nice note. And this is a fantastic note to end in. So it was amazing having you today. Thank you for making time and coming to the podcast. I really enjoyed it. So, but before we end, is there anything that you would like to share to the audience and how do people find you?
So people can, if you are looking to find me, you can probably find me on LinkedIn. I'm extra, like super active over there, thanks to LinkedIn Accelerator program. So just look for Udit Goenka. You'll find
Yeah.
someone wearing red t-shirt. So it's very easy to recognize me. Or you can reach out to me on my Twitter. You can look for iUditG. Again, red t-shirt, the same DP. There's a LinkedIn logo as well now. So
Mm.
you can reach out, or you can just send me an email at udit@pitchground.com.
Perfect. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also follow Brew Market for more marketing, business, and branding updates. Thank you. See you all in the next podcast.
So much, Rakshit, for inviting me.
Yeah.